Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Fish and welcome to another recent reads where we're going to talk about 27 books. It's a lot, but we're just going to speed through, okay? Also, this is my 100th video on the channel, not counting all the unlisted videos for all my patrons, but yeah, this is the 100th video. How exciting. Yay. Only took me like 3 years, but you know what? That's fine. Also, yeah, I'm coming up on my 3-year booktube anniversary. Very, very exciting. I cannot believe I've been here for 3 years. 2019, right? 20, 21, 22. Yes. 3 years. Also, how are you doing? Let me know in the comments. I hope you're doing good. If I sound sick, it's because I was sick and I still have a bit of lingering congestion in my noses. So yeah, don't mind that. Alright, so let's jump right into it. Let me talk about my DNF, and that is Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. So, I was going to read this for Riley Marie's Patreon book club, and I tried, and I was not jamming with the writing style, to be honest, which is very surprising because I kind of did like a chapter test of The Echo Wife, and I really liked that. So, I'll definitely try that book next time. But this one, it was a very, very slow start. I think I got like 100 pages in, and like it's so slow. It's definitely the writing style for me, to be honest. I think there's some mixed reviews of this book. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm definitely going to give her other book a try, The Echo Wife, and also Just Like Magic, the one with the magic, the witches. I'll definitely give that a try, but unfortunately I just wasn't a fan of this one. Alright, let's go into the first category, which is books that start with the. Some of these categories are a bit weird, so just go with it, okay? It's just my brain. So let's talk about the books that start with the. So the first book I want to talk about is The Adventure Zone, Petals to the Metal. I'm pretty sure this is volume 3 of The Adventure Zone. I have been enjoying my time with the Adventure Zone comics. They're basically like a D&D campaign, but in comic book form, and you get to like see the D&D characters going through the quest. I think it is so cute. I am kind of invested in the characters now and the story and their well-being. 3 volumes in, and I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. This one has to do with like a race. It gave me Fast and Furious vibes, to be honest. But it was a very, very fun time. If you haven't read this comic book series, I definitely recommend it. It's just such a fun time, and if you like D&D campaigns, you'll definitely enjoy this, for sure. It's funny, and I cannot wait to read the 4th volume. I think it's The Crystal Kingdom, and the 5th volume might be coming out either end of this year or next year, so I'm very excited to continue on this series. The next book in the category is The Deep by Nick Cutter. How awful is this cover? It's a library book, and it's just such an awful cover. Anyway, this is part of a reading vlog that I'm still working on, so I won't go into it too much, but this is Nick Cutter's other book. I read The Troop by him. Really like that one. Very grotesque, and it has the same themes in here like animal abuse and animal torture. I don't know why he keeps doing that in his books. It's very unnecessary, but it's very prevalent, so trigger warnings for that in both books, especially The Troop, because that one is very, very graphic. This is a horror novel, and it's set in our world, I think in the distant future, I'm not sure, but our world is being plagued by the gets, where people forget to do things and forget themselves, or even forget how to breathe. Your organs themselves forget how to function, and you know, eventually the people die. So the scientists have been trying to find a cure for it, and they seem to think that they found the cure in the Mariana Trench, and they set up a lab down in the Mariana Trench to find this cure. And the people that are down there haven't been communicating up to HQ for a while now, so one of the scientists, his brother, has been contacted to go down there and figure out what's happening there with his brother and his team. I will say, in the beginning, I was very much enjoying with the story, the suspense, and also the horror of the depths of Mariana Trench. However, this book took a turn that I did not like whatsoever. I gave this book a 2 stars, by the way. I did not like the direction it went. Not my thing. Sure, there were some creepy horror elements about like bees and like things coming out of the body. It is horrific in that sense, which I know Nick Cutter does very well because of The Troop and all the grotesque things that he said in that. But the plot itself I didn't like the direction it went. So therefore it got a 2 stars. I don't know if I would recommend this, to be honest, but I would say give this a try if you obviously are very into like horror and body horror. Definitely give this a try and see what you think. But like, really, the writing is good, but I just didn't like the plot at all. So yeah, 2 stars. The next book I want to talk about is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is a Patreon pick for my Green Bone Tears, and I had to read this and vlog for it. This is the first book to a sci-fi series called the Wayfarer series, and I think it's a series of standalone, but it's set in the same world and we follow different characters. I think the second book follows the AI that was in here. So it's like a series of standalones, which I do plan to continue because I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. It's very much a character-focused story. There is a plot to it, but it's very much kind of in the background. The focus is the characters. And I really got invested in the characters in this because, again, we spent so much time getting to know them and getting to know their backstory. And I think Sissix is my favorite character in this, even though she's like a lizard, but I feel like she is my favorite. I love seeing her planet and how she interacts with her species and how there are certain customs within her species that she can't really do when she's with humans because humans don't understand her customs. And I feel like I can relate to that with my culture and religion, where there are certain things that I can't really do and explain when I'm around non-Indian people. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a relatability to Sissix. I just really enjoyed this. I definitely want to continue on with the series. Alright, the last book in the category is The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackworth. This book, I'm not disappointed, but I kind of expected more from it because my good friend Abby from Abby Salter, she loves the Library of the Unwritten. I gave this 3 stars. I thought it was okay. I feel like books with a library setting just don't do it for me. I mean, Starless Sea, the writing was impeccable, but I only gave it 4 stars. It's just weird. I don't know if library setting books don't work for me, which is so weird considering, hello, I have a library of my own. We won't dive into that discussion today. But anyway, this basically follows a library that houses uncompleted books, and we have a librarian who guards these books so that the characters from these books don't escape from the library and chase after their author and pester them into finishing their books. And so a character from one of these books actually escapes the library, and the librarian has to chase him down and bring him back to the library. This is the plot that obviously in the synopsis. However, I did not expect, there's more layers to this plot. So I did not expect where the book went, and I will say it's a lot like heaven versus hell kind of thing in here. I did not expect that. I feel like because I had that expectation going in, it's just going to be a library story. I didn't expect the whole like heaven versus hell thing coming in. I feel like I've heard the story of heaven versus hell, the plot in here many times, and I've seen and read better, specifically Supernatural. If you've seen Supernatural, there's a whole battle, hell versus heaven, and this one was just very underwhelming. But I would definitely recommend, if anyone loves a good library setting, I would definitely recommend this book for sure. It just didn't work for me, and it's safe to say that I won't be continue on with this series. Alright, so the next category I want to talk about is things that pertain to nighttime. Okay, so the first book I want to talk about is Sheets by Brianna Tumbler, I think. Oh my god, I can't remember. Here's the image for it. And when I went to the library, if you haven't seen my library video, I'll link it up above. When I went to the library, I also read a graphic novel, which is Sheets, while I was there, and I really enjoyed this one. I gave this a 4 star. So we're basically following 2 characters. So we have this girl who has lost her mother and she just has her father, I think, and he's very consumed with grief, and they own a laundry store, a laundry service store. So she runs the store while she's going to high school, and then there's this like businessman that keeps pestering her to sell him the laundry store so that he can build like a spa service. She doesn't want to give it up because it is her family business and she wants to keep it within the family. And the other character that we follow is a ghost, and this ghost recently just died and he is now a ghost, and he's coming to terms with his death, but he wants to go back to the human world, and he finds the opportunity to go back to the human world, and he comes upon the laundry store and he lives there, and he helps the girl with the laundry store without her knowing at first to save the business, and they form an unlikely friendship, and it's really, really cute. I really enjoyed this. I know there's a second book to this graphic novel series, and I definitely will get to it one day. I just really think everyone should read this. If you are in the mood for a graphic novel, definitely pick this up. I think you're going to enjoy it. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did. There is some dark topics like grief and depression and anxiety, and also obviously, you know, friendship with a ghost. That's so cute. So there's a lot of stuff like that as well. And the second book in this category that I want to talk about is Book of Night by Holly Black. This is the Fairy Loot edition, and I gave this book 3 stars. I was pleasantly surprised because I'm not a huge fan of the Cruel Prince trilogy. I heard she was coming out with an adult book, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a try, and look, it's not the best. There's a lot of try-hardiness with the character. There's a lot of tell not show in this book, and we get to see the character's abilities at the end, but it was just all tell. Basically following our main character Charlie, who is a con artist, and in this world they have shadow magic where you can use your shadow and kind of manipulate it and also change your shadow, and as you manipulate it, you can get powers, or your shadow gets powers, but you can't give too much power to the shadow, or else it'll become a separate entity on its own and become like this evil thing. And then we have these magicians that hunt down those evil shadows, and those magicians also have a shadow of their own that they can manipulate. It's a very interesting magic system. Anything to do with like shadow magic and death magic, I'm always intrigued. So I really liked the magic system in here, and it was a very quick read. I do want to continue on in the series because the romance in here was actually pretty cute. I would literally, any book, if there's a romance, I'm going to latch on to it. So I really enjoyed this. Again, there's a lot of like tell not show and a lot of pretend edginess to it that didn't really work. And this being an adult, the writing style still very much leans into YA just because it has a lot of darker topics. That's why it's classed as adult. I feel like just know going into it. But I really do like the magic system. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the second book in terms of the magic system and the characters. Yeah, it was a really fun time. Okay, the next category is a bit of a long one, and that is Kindle Unlimited books. I read a lot of Kindle Unlimited books lately, so we're gonna go through them really quickly. So the first book is 365 Days. I don't remember the author's name, but the picture will be here. I'm so sorry. And I read this for the cringy Cliterature book club that's run by Christina Mo, Sarah from Sarah Shells, Jayla from Jayla Reads, I think, Amanda from Ginger Snaps Reads, I think. I'll link all of them below, by the way. If I'm missing someone, I'm so sorry. I'll link all of them down below for you to check out. They are in hiatus at the moment, but they'll start again in January, which I'm so excited for it. So we read 365 Days for the Cliterature book club. I enjoyed my time reading this, but it was an awful book. I gave this 2 stars. First of all, it was not 365 days. The title's very misleading. We basically have this girl. Oh my god, have I forgotten the story? Probably. We basically just have this girl who gets kidnapped by a very large mafia boss, and he wants to keep her with him and get her to like be with him. Yeah, it's a very interesting story, and the male character in this is very aggressive, also very stupid, but also the female character is very stupid as well. They make stupid decisions. Yeah, I just enjoyed my time with this, but it's not a great read. I haven't watched the movie yet, but I think people have said the movie is better, maybe? I don't know. But I'm not continuing on with the series. No, I'm not going to put myself through that again. Also, all these books that I'm going to talk about, this is no way in reflection of Kindle Unlimited books, by the way. I just picked wrong ones. So, in saying that, the next book I'm going to talk about is Lovely Bad Things by Trisha Wolfe. This is also another book in Riley Marie's Patreon book club picks. So we read this and I gave this 2 stars as well. I did not like the writing style. It is so cringe. It focuses so much on philosophy. It focused so much on philosophy. Oh my god. Philosophy. This book focuses so much on philosophy that it goes so in depth into it because we're following this girl who gets recruited to solve these murders, and she puts the guy who's a philosophy professor in jail, and then a couple of years later the guy's still in jail but the murders start up again, so she recruits the murderer or the guy in jail to help her solve these murders. And because he's a philosophy professor, there's a lot of philosophy involved, and it's just so in depth that I'm just like, why is this in here, and why is it so complicated? You know, because obviously philosophy is complicated. But it doesn't need to be that complicated in a dark romance book. You know what I mean? And I just didn't like the characters at all. They were just generic characters. The plot twist was a bit predictable. And the sexual tension and the smut in this was relatively good. Hence why it is 2 stars. Because I hated everything else about it. I'm going to unhaul this for sure. I don't know if I'll ever check out another book from Trisha Wolfe, but I know Riley likes a different book from this author, so maybe I'll give it a try one day. Alright, the next book I want to talk about is Their Vicious Darling by Nikki St. Crow. This is the 3rd book in the Vicious Lost Boys series, I believe. And I read this when it came out immediately, like September 1st. And I gave this 3.5 stars. I will say this is my least favorite in the series. I think the 2nd book is my favorite in the series. This is a dark romance series, a dark fantasy romance series. The first 2 books are very heavily focused on the romance instead of the plot, whereas the 3rd book is heavily focused on the plot and less on the romance. And now look, I'm all for the plot, which was interesting. However, I came into this series wanting smut. There wasn't much in this, so I was disappointed. But the plot was interesting, but not obviously the best. But it was really interesting because it's to do again with shadow magic and everything like that. And our main character, Winnie Darling, has a dark side in this book. So it was really interesting to see that in her and how she interacted with the boys. So I'm still going to continue on with the series. I think the next book is the last book, which is fine. I just want to see how it ends. I am kind of invested in the story, but again, I would like a bit more smut. Hence why it's only 3.5 stars. I would definitely recommend this series just for a fun time because they're like little novellas, really. They're about like 150 to 200 pages and they're just a fun time. I think you should definitely read this series if you want a fun time. If you want a KU fun time, definitely pick up the series. The next book is Throttled by Lauren Asher. This is another cringe Cliterature book club pick. And this one is to do with F1 racing. And I was so interested in that because I've never read a romance book when it comes to F1. So I was excited to read this. However, I was not a fan of the writing style. It was just an okay writing style. There was a lot of cringe dialogue here and there, and our characters are cool. However, our male character is a bit of an asshole and he has some issues that he has to work through. And obviously, with it being a romance, he wants to work through his issues to be with this girl. But like, 2 weeks in therapy is not enough to sort out your issues. It's not like, oh, 2 weeks, I'm cured, and then let's go get the girl. You know what I mean? It's very unrealistic. But I did enjoy the heck out of the F1 stuff. I was not a fan of the writing style, as I said, so I gave this 2 stars. However, I will be checking out her other book, which is the Billionaire series. Alright, the next book I want to talk about is Hector by Zoe Chant. So me and Christine from the Roomies Digest, I think she initiated this where she was like, is there any kangaroo shifter romance or anything like that? But then I found this shifter romance that takes place in the outback and I was like, hey, buddy read? I was just joking, but you know what? We took it seriously. So we read this shifter outback romance called Hector, and you know what? We had a fun time. I did not expect having a fun time. It was definitely better than 365 Days, and it was definitely better than Throttled. Even though I gave this 2.5 stars, it's still better than those two. It's just a very short book, and it's about this girl who comes to Australia to study the moths and their migration pattern. She gets sucked up in this magical creature's black market ring. So she suddenly has this like magical creature egg that's a pegasi, and it's the last living pegasi. So she has this egg and she's being hunted down by all these black market people because obviously they want this egg so they can sell it. And then comes in Hector, who's a shapeshifter, and he's part of this like bureau that helps saves magical creatures from the black market. So he helps her and rescues her and tries to figure out how to save the egg and her as well, and things go from there. It's really action-packed. It's not very smutty, but it was fine. There obviously is a magical creature, Pegasi, in there, and it's so cute. Her name is Ruby, and she loves applesauce. Yeah, it was very cute. Obviously, there is some cringy dialogue here and there. However, I just really enjoyed my time with it. It was very, very entertaining. It's funny here and there. And Zoe Chant is not Australian, but she did use certain quips or Australian things in the book that made me think she really might be Australian. If you're Australian, you might know the term bin chicken. I didn't even know about bin chickens until like 2 months ago. And she used that in the book. I didn't know that she knew. But you know what? It was great. I had a really, really fun time. I won't be continuing on with the series because one was enough. The next book I want to talk about in this category is From Below by Darcy Coates. And this is another book for the same vlog for the deep. And I gave this 3 stars. I won't go into it very much, but basically have this ship called the Arcadia that sank in the 1950s, like after Titanic. And no one knows why it sank and where it sank. Until present day, we have a group of this divers team that's doing a documentary about the Arcadia, and they seem to have found the boat. So they're going to do 3 dives under the sea to go explore this boat, and sinister things happen down there while they're exploring. I will say the atmosphere in this is phenomenal, and the horror and the tension in this is also phenomenal. However, it is so slow. This book is like 500 pages, 550 pages, so long. It didn't need to be that long. Trust me, did not need to be that long. You could have done the same atmosphere and tension, just a tinge shorter. It was so long. It was so dragging. The characters made some very stupid decisions. Like, decisions that didn't have to be made at all. Like, what's the point? You know this is stupid. Why did you do it? I did not like it. I did not like it at all. So, I gave this book a 3 stars because of the atmosphere and the tension and everything like that. But, oh my god, it was so long and so slow. I love slow books, like I said, but this was so slow. It took me so long to read this. But I definitely recommend to anyone who wants to read this, definitely try out the audiobook. I think that's going to be a good way to read this story because it's so creepy. Because can you imagine being 300 feet in the water in pitch black darkness with just a flashlight in a boat that sunk ages ago? I think you should definitely pick this book up. It just obviously, again, didn't work for me. A lot of these books just didn't work for me, but I definitely would recommend other people try it because it might work for you. And the last book in this category that I want to talk about is A Soul to Keep by Opal Rain. This is another KU book, and this is a monster romance, and I really enjoyed this. I gave this a 3.5 stars, and we're just following a girl who is seen as a bad omen in her village, and she's kept away from like the whole village. And because when she was little, demons came into her house and killed her parents, but spared her because she was hiding, so she survived. So the villagers think that she's a bad omen because she brought these demons into her home, but she survived. I don't know what logic this is, but it is what it is. Present day, she's being offered up to this dust walker who is a demon who takes a bride every 10 years in exchange of protection of the village. So she is offered up to this dust walker. It's kind of like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, really. And this dust walker takes her into the demon realm, and it's hard to survive in the demon realm because obviously she's a human. All the demons want to eat her. So he protects her by keeping her in his little house. And this is so cute. Okay, we have Orpheus, who is the dust walker. He is such a cinnamon roll. If you look at this picture and you look at him, does he look like a cinnamon roll? No. There's this thing with dust walkers where you can't see them talk because they have skulls. So their eyes, the orbs, change color to show you their emotions. And if he's like happy or like satisfied, it turns yellow, and if he's jealous it turns green, and then if he's like scared or shocked it turns white. And I really enjoyed this book. There's also a plot to it, but it doesn't really play into the story until the end, of course. And there is a resurrection trope in this. I'm not a fan of resurrection tropes, but this was fine. I didn't mind it. So yeah, I just had a really good time. I think I might continue on with this series because I think each book follows a different Dustwalker, and the Dustwalker in the second book was already introduced in the first one. I'm excited to see what holds in the second book, because the Dustwalker in the second book is very different to Orpheus. So I'm excited to see what happens in that. So the next category I want to talk about is a bit of a weird one. So it's basically you're green with envy because you haven't read these books yet. And you'll see what I mean. So the first book I want to talk about is Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. So this is Matthew McConaughey's memoir, and I listened to the audiobook while also reading because there's like pictures and everything. So yeah, I just wanted the full experience, and I was very pleasantly surprised with this book. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this book and learning and listening to his story and his life and all the lessons that he learned. It's kind of like his life story, a memoir, but it's also a little bit of a self-help book. He's not like pushing anything into your face. It's just kind of, he's telling you the lessons he learned and also the hoops that he has to jump through and what he did and his mindset was when he jumped through these hoops. And it's interesting to see those lessons that he learned that you can also apply to your own life. And his life was just wild. And I think after I read this, I went to watch A Time to Kill. What a phenomenal movie. If you haven't watched that movie, I suggest you go watch it. I can't really say much about it except I really enjoyed his story. I'll definitely keep this and I will probably reread it one day. My battery is dying. And the second book in this category that I want to talk about is Across the Green Grass Fields by Seanan McGuire. This is the 6th book to the Wayward Children series. My favorite will always be Down Among the Sticks and Bones. So Across the Green Grass Fields is definitely a close second, and I gave this 4.75 stars. I really enjoyed this one for sure. We follow a girl who goes into this world of, I guess, horses. This is a horse girl story because she gets to live with these centaurs. Basically, whenever a human appears in this world, that really says that something bad is coming and the human has to overthrow the monarchy or patriarchy that is currently residing in this world. She needs to go visit the queen and talk to her and overthrow this big bad, and she doesn't want to do that just yet because she's still really young. So she goes to live with these centaurs, and when she's old enough she goes and visits the kingdom or the queendom. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. So this is really, really cool. Obviously, again, this is like a horse girl story. I'm not a horse girl. I've never ridden a horse before, and I do want to eventually one day, but I love animals, so this is literally a dream come true, living with animals. Like, I wanted to be Mowgli. I wanted to be raised by wolves. I mean, I'm halfway there. I'm brown, right? I wanna go live with the wolves and run with the elephants. So I really, really enjoyed the story. I really liked our main character and how she grew up from being, I think she was 10 years old and she grows into a teenager. I really like her arc in the story. And of course the writing style was beautiful. I actually have the arc for Where the Drowned Girls Go and also the 8th book, which is Lost in the Moment and Found or something like that. I have both of those arcs, so I'll definitely be diving into those two soon because I'm very excited. I'm not sure what character we follow in the 8th book, but in the 7th book, Where the Drowned Girls Go, we follow one of the characters that was in the 5th book come tumbling down, I think. And also, I don't know if Where the Drowned Girls Go might top Across the Green Grass Fields, because I'm also a water girl, and I know Where the Drowned Girls Go is about like mermaids and stuff, so we'll see. We'll see. All right, the second last category that I want to talk about is Throne of Glass. If you don't know, my patrons and I are doing a mass along, and we're at the end of Throne of Glass at the moment. We're reading Kingdom of Ash this month, and then we're gonna start ACOTAR. So if you want to join, my Patreon's always linked down below. But anyway, I want to talk about Queen of Shadows, Empire Storms, and Tower of Dawn. So, Queen of Shadows, I won't talk too much about these because this is a reread, but I'll just hold them up here. So, Queen of Shadows is the 4th book in this Throne of Glass series, and I really enjoyed it. We dive deeper in the stories, we get more perspectives, and something explosive happens at the end. And of course we have Empire Storms, which looks at the repercussions of the ending of Queen of Storms. And Empire Storms is still my favorite of the series. It is a slow book, but there's a lot of political maneuvering and a lot of character work in this. Other characters meet up with other characters. It is one of my favorite. It's still my favorite of the series. And then of course we have Tower of Dawn, where we follow Chaol, and he goes to Antica, which is the southern part of the continent. And there's a whole lot of world building in here, different characters. I will say this one is not my least favorite, but it's there with Crown of Midnight, just because I feel like I wish we had more perspectives in this instead of just Yrene, Chaol, and Nesrin. I wish we had the perspectives of the royal siblings in there, because I feel like that would really round out the story more and give more oomph to the world building and the culture in here. And there's also a murder mystery in here that I really enjoyed, and a lot of reveals in this as well that will come to play in Kingdom of Ash when I read it. So ratings is 5 stars, 5 stars, 4.25 stars. Like I said, it's with Crown of Midnight, you know. I think I gave Crown of Midnight 4 stars. This one was a bit better than Crown of Midnight, which is 4.25. So yeah, I don't hate it. It's just not my favorite. And now we go to the last category, and also the best category, because we're gonna talk about all my favorite things. Okay, so the first 2 books I want to talk about is Lore Olympus Volume 1 and Lore Olympus Volume 2. This is a reread, and this one just came out in the middle of the month, I think June or July. So I wanted to reread this and then read this, and I actually have some packages down there. I don't know if you can see, but Volume 3 is down there. Also, I think the next video I'll be putting out is a book haul, book unboxing, so you can look forward to that. Okay, so these 2 are 5 stars, obviously. If you don't know, Lore Olympus is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and it also features all other Greek mythology characters in here, and there's a lot of dark topics in here, such as sexual abuse and rape, triggers for that. But this is such an amazing graphic novel series, or webtoon series, whatever you want to call it, because I read it via webtoon first, and I binged a lot of episodes. I haven't caught up with the webtoon series yet, because Rachel Smith started publishing these, so I thought I'd just, you know, go with the flow when each volume is published. So yeah, I love this series with my whole heart. It takes a while for you to obviously warm up and get to know these characters, because again, I binged a lot of episodes, so I'm like in it and I'm invested in the characters already. So yeah, I gave them both 5 stars. Please check out this graphic novel series if you haven't. I really enjoy these. These are my favorite, and also my favorite Hades and Persephone retellings. Alright, the next 1, 2, 3, 4 books I want to talk about is part of the same series. So, I love this series so much. If I've talked about any of these books, these are the books, and also Lore Olympus, that you have to read, okay? You have to read if you're into contemporary romance, adult contemporary romance. You have to read this, okay? Okay, so it's the Bergman Brothers series. So we have book 2, which is Always Only You, book 3, which is Ever After Always, book 4, With You Forever, which is my favorite, and then book 5, which is Everything for You, which is a male-male romance, which was amazing. I want to thank Christine from Rumi's Digest for gifting me these 2 for my birthday. Thank you so much, Christine, and also thank you so much to myself for buying the rest. Also, I forgot to say thank you so much to Sharon for gifting me The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I'm so sorry. I'm really bad at looking inside with the gift notes, but thank you so much, Sharon, for gifting me this. Thank you so much. Anyway, go read these. So each book we follow a Bergman brother or Bergman sister for that one. And also we have Ziggy, who is the last Bergman sibling. And we will definitely be getting 2 more books. So I'm so excited. Cannot wait for Viggo and Ziggy's story. I cannot wait. Okay, so I think the last recent reads or another previous recent reads, I talked about the first book and I loved that. However, after that I just binged this whole thing and I am in love with Chloe Leese. She has another book that's coming out in November. I'll put the picture up here because I can't quite remember the title. I'm having massive brain fog today. I'm so sorry. So I'm excited for this. I pre-ordered the book. Ugh, oh, cannot wait to read this. But anyway, we're talking about this. Okay. So each book has a Bergman brother and each book has a disability rep. So the first book we have deaf rep, I believe. This one we have rheumatoid arthritis rep. This one we have anxiety rep. And this one we have IBS, I think. And also anxiety, a touch of autism. Yeah, chronic illness, which is IBS, ulcerative colitis, and also a touch of autism. And this one is also anxiety. There's one scene with a queer phobic slur directed at the one main character, but it's not named on the page. And also a character with chronic pain and also another character with anxiety. So there's a lot of disability rep in here, and I think she has done it so well because she's also disabled as well, so she obviously she knows. So yeah, I highly recommend you read these. These are such great adult contemporary romances and such great sexual tension, and I love the characters to death. You get to see all of them in here multiple times. I'm tempted to reread all of them and annotate the shit out of my books because I read them via Kindle instead of the actual books, so I'm very tempted. And the last book I want to talk about, and last book in this category, is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This was the August pick for Shelf Space Book Club, and I just wanted to read this. So this was self-published, and now it has been picked up by Tor, basically following this orc, Viv, who has retired from the mercenary business and wants to settle down and open her own coffee shop. And to tell you, this is so wholesome, and it makes me realize and appreciate the little things in life. A coffee shop here is not something that exists in this fantasy world. It's so cool to see the steps that Viv takes to open this coffee shop, and like also seeing people experience coffees and pastries and the camaraderie and the environment of cafes in here. Chef's kiss, great. I'm telling you, this is really, really cute, really wholesome. I know a lot of people have high expectations going in this, but let me tell you, it's literally low stakes fantasy. It's just about the vibes, nothing else, just vibes. And there is a sapphic romance in here, but it's like very, very small, tiny part of this, barely there, but it's still really, really cute to see their relationship blossom with Viv and this girl. I had forgotten her name, but you know what? She's a succubus and she's great. I also gave this 5 stars, and I would also recommend the audiobook for this because Travis Baldree narrates it himself. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this. It is 100% low stakes and just vibes, so don't expect anything else going into that. Alrighty, so those are all the books that I have read in the last couple of months. I have not been reading as much, even though I'm talking about 27 books, but this is from, I'm guessing, May until very recently, so it's not much because I haven't been reading much. I've just been going with the flow when it comes to reading. So yeah, let me know in the comments whether you've read any of these books. Let me know what was your favorite read recently and what was your least favorite read recently. If you've made it to the end of the video, put a soccer ball emoji for the Bergman brothers because they're a family of hockey stars and soccer stars. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't. Thank you guys so much for watching and continuing supporting this channel as I hit my 3-year anniversary. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye!